What is going on, all of you mortgage maniacs out there? I'm Thomas Meister, the loan officer's agent, and in this video, we're going to be comparing the weekly gainers and losers, mortgage companies, who's going where and why. There's actually been some big changes within the past week, right? Because we're only comparing the data from last week to this week, so we can see loan officers and where they're going, who's leaving. We're going to be looking at, kind of the barometer for this. If this is your first time joining this channel, checking this video out, is $10 million producers, right, as our barometer. But just because you gained loan officers doesn't mean it translates to production. So let's get started. We're going to transition over here to RETR. If you do not use RETR, it's an amazing tool. There's a link in the description if you want to check it out more. But we're looking at, mortgage companies, and we're kind of comparing them on a national level. And again, we've extracted this data so that way we can compare it and do a better job of that. And that's what this beautiful port I have created is, okay? So what you're looking at here are it's descending, right? So it's, if you've gained the companies that gain the most loan officers to the companies that lost the most loan officers, right? And we've separated this from, one side is IMBs and the other side is brokers. Let me know in the description if you want to see me include banks, right, on a weekly basis as well. But for now, we're just looking at IMBs and brokers. So we're going to kick things off here with the biggest gainer for the week, which is Loan Depot. Okay, Loan Depot gaining 68 loan officers. But remember, we have to see if that translates to production. So we're going to load this and we're going to see the last week's changes. So actually, no, it's not, which is a surprise. They must have lost somebody pretty big, or the LOs coming in don't do that much. So Loan Depot for the week, net gain of 68 loan originators and a net loss of $110 million, basically, of annualized production. Why? Like, how'd this happen? I'm so curious, okay? By the way, new or previously inactive, this basically just means that their license was previously in limbo, right? Whereas, so we don't know necessarily where it was. But just looking at this, right? How many $10 million producers coming in? 1, 2, 3. 4 if we give them that. So 4 $10 million plus producers coming in. I don't know if I necessarily see a theme here. Maybe it's just a really good, there's a lot of zeros. So I don't know why they picked up so many licenses of people who don't do any production, or maybe that's a glitch in the data. I don't know. But let's see who left. Not actually the biggest win. They might be one of the biggest losers, actually, when you lose $110 million of production. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wow. 9 $10 million plus producers leaving, and a group going to West Capital Lending. So broker, so IMB going to broker. There's some pretty big producers leaving Loan Depot this week. Okay. So that's an interesting thing to see in the data, right? Let's see if maybe Gold Star coming in at number 2 with net gain of 50 loan originators, if that actually is a big win for them. Okay. So it was. So pretty big week for Gold Star Mortgage. Net gain of 50 loan originators and $164 million of annualized production. They only lost one person this past week. So who came in? Okay, so it looks like they acquired a company, right? When you see this is not like, oh, like a bunch of people like all left together. Like, no, this doesn't happen unless everybody's switching their licenses from this company. So we're actually let's just quickly peek on City First Mortgages. In fact, they were actually, I think I saw it at the bottom there, they're the biggest loser for this week in the IMB side. And that would be why, right? Let's see, if you lost everybody and everybody went to the same place. Okay, 2 people went, 3 people went inactive. But yeah, everybody's going to Gold Star. 1 went to United Financial. 1 went to Aspire. So not everybody going along with this. Oh, that's a 0 producer. Super quick, we're going to look at the last year because I want to see, that's 6 months, past year. So company has been just bleeding originators. Looks like, so one crafty thing I like to do here is if I click on went, and you can kind of see over the last year, okay, a lot of people going inactive. And then like where the trends, right? A bunch of people went to Canopy over the last year. No $10 million plus producers went there. 1 went to Aspire. All the people who went to Gold Star, and then some other random places. So, but I mean, that's obviously good for Gold Star, right? Because Gold Star having a great week so far. 50 loan officers, $164 let's call it, $1 million of annualized production. Okay. So next we have Atlantic Coast Mortgage gaining 40 loan originators. By the way, this, just for simple to help us, is showing the LO percentage change, right? So for Gold Star to get 50 originators, that's a change. That's a growth change of 20% basically of new originators, because they're now at 301, right? And previously they were 50 less, right? So let's come in here and we're going to look at Atlantic Coast Mortgage. Looks like they're based out of Fairfax, Virginia. Whoa. Okay, so we got to dive into this because they're even bigger winner, right? Gaining 40 originators in the last week and for $532 million of annualized production. Wow. Okay, so who's coming in? Picked up a big 100 million. Oh, wow, lower. Oh, and I did see lower on the bottom of that. So, oh, okay. So this is a bad week for lower. And obviously Atlantic Coast being the beneficiary of bringing over a huge group. Not a sale, because lower is a giant IMB as well. So, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I think it's the biggest week I've seen since we started doing this 3-4 weeks ago. 20 $10 million plus producers leaving, or sorry, coming in. I'm thinking of lower. Lower lost them. Like maybe they lost more actually, because that's just 20 coming into Atlantic Coast. But losing one Joseph, it's not like you don't do any business, but you didn't even do $1 million. So, not meeting the threshold of the $10 million producer, which as a barometer, a lot of people use that as an indicator of health, right? If a company is attracting a lot of people or losing good producers, why, right? What are they doing well? What's not going well? So we have to have some kind of barometer for that. So great week for Atlantic Coast Mortgage. Okay, cross country. Not number one this last week, and they're usually like top 3, but okay, they're number 4 this week. So let's have a peek at cross country over the last week. I guess we're just going to stare at the screen together because my internet's slowing down for a second. So great week for cross country. Net gain of 24 loan originators and $229 million of annualized production. So who's coming in? It's kind of a little bit scattered, right? But $60 million producer coming from a broker, actually. So Go Rascal, one of the largest brokers, coming into. So we saw a large group leave, I think, Loan Depot going broker. And here's a big producer from broker going to IMB. And if you want to see, right, I don't have time in this. And I think leave a comment in the chats if I should be tracking these people and you think that would be helpful. But he wasn't previously inactive. There was a gap in their licenses. So I'm not going to click on it. Get a subscription to RETR if you want to dive into this deeper, after you see it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, $10 million plus producers coming into cross country and losing one $10 million plus producer going to broker, right? Edge Home Finance, one of the largest brokers in the country. So great week for cross country mortgage. All right, our last winner for this week is who did I skip over? I'm skipping over Mortgage Research Center because that is Veterans United, right? So they just do VA loans and they're a call center, basically, right? They're just an online type lender. So New Res, I might speed through this a little bit faster. Great week for New Res. Net gain of 19 originators for $200 million annualized production. Picking up some, okay. I wonder where they came from. And if you're wondering too, get RETR so you can click into it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, $10 million plus producers. A really big producer here, Brian Frank, coming in. Okay, wow. That's a big week for New Res. So now we're going to look at the gainers on the broker side. The reason that we can't count this data is because when I extract this data, we're looking at the top 1,000 brokers. There's a lot more brokers than that in the country. So from the previous week, it's 0 because they weren't on the list last week, right? They didn't make the cut. This week they did, but we're not going to look at it because if that's one of my rules is if you weren't on the previous week, then we're not going to dive into that. So the number 1 winner, let's dive into it. Edge Home Finance. I think we already saw their name pop up, so we kind of know why. That didn't come up. We have your NMLS number on there, right? Yeah, so that's easier. When I'm doing this, I can just use your NMLS number to cheat and make sure I get the exact right company. So, an okay week for Edge Home Finance. They net gained 16 originators for $55 million of annualized production. 1, 2, 3, 4 $10 million plus producers. There's that cross-country guy coming in. That's the biggest pickup for them this week. Lost no $10 million plus producers. So a good week for Edge Home Finance on the broker side. And next we would say, so again, no data, no data, no data. Primerica. Let's grab that MLS. Primerica gaining 14 originators. Let's see if that translates to production. And does not. Flat, right? 500, that's one loan, 500 million, 500,000. So not gaining anybody with production and probably not losing anybody with production. So, okay. They're not actually a gainer for this week. Nexa Mortgage gaining 12 originators. We're going to see how that translates for Nexa. Flat, basically. $3 million is not a huge swing. So net gain of 12 originators, but bringing in 1, 2, $10 million plus producers and losing 24 originators, but 1, 2, 3, $10 million plus producers. Okay, so Nexa losing someone to Guild, right? And then these two $10 million plus producers going to another broker. Okay, but a flat week for Nexa. So not a big, massive gain. And Loan Factory is kind of like a call center, right? Like, I don't know if this really counts. Let's dissect it again. See, because Loan Factory does so much refinance business. It's a bad week for Loan Factory. They gained loan officers, but they lost a lot of production. For example, if we click into some of these people, I'm just curious. They probably are doing business. Like, who's a producer they lost? They went to Oak Street. So let's dissect for a second. So if we look at here at Miguel does a lot of equity business and then a lot of refinance business. He has realtors. It's not like crazy amount of realtors. This person coming in, a lot of new build business actually. No strong realtor relationships, so that's not actually good. Same thing kind of happening here. So these are good realtor relationships though. A lot of refi business here though. Again, I'm not saying that those people don't count. It's not like one of those blatant situations where the person is coming from a call center like a Rocket or coming from a builder, right? Like Pulte Homes, right? Or Lennar Homes. And that business, you can't always count on to follow them. So it's still a net negative week. They're not one of the winners for this week. So no huge wins on the broker side this past week. And we got Barrett Financial, arguably the largest broker. So for them, a great week. So probably the biggest, right? I think they're the biggest winner. That makes them this week. Net gain of 10 originators for $105 million of annualized production, gaining 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, $10 million plus producers. 2 of them coming from Nexa. So broker to broker and some bank. Okay. All right. Let's look at where if any of them lost anything. No. So they didn't really lose any $10 million. Well, they didn't, not really. They didn't lose any $10 million plus producers. Okay. So those are the gainers. We're going to quickly dive into some of the losers. Unfortunately, one person's gain is another person's loss. So we're going to start from the bottom here. And like we saw, we've already seen City First and Lower come up on this list. So let's start with City First. I mean, actually, we kind of already did that. We looked at that profile, right? They sold, right? That's likely a sale. So obviously, that doesn't make them a loser because, I don't know, the owners made money, right, when they sold it. So somebody's making money in that, and they're just kind of merging probably of those two things. So Lower, we already knew that they had a really bad week, losing a lot of people to, who was it? It was the biggest gainer for this week, right? On the IMB side, Atlantic Coast. So net loss of 34 originators for $500 million. That's probably the biggest loss in 1 week. That's crazy. So they gained one $10 million plus producer coming from Canopy, or 2, right? And we'll count $9 million plus producers because there's always, RETR is not perfect. No production lookup tool is. So there's always gaps in the data. So we'll give it to them. But then, wow. So all these people going to Atlantic Coast. Did anybody go anywhere else? Well, none of the $10 million plus producers. Some of these smaller people also going. We can see some of these other licenses inactive. One person went to Empower, but basically this entire group, right, region basically. This is a region or a division of Lower left. So that's unfortunate. Oh, and Taylor, actually, you know what? Taylor Fick was their #1 producer. He was the #1 producer at Lower. I think I saw that randomly previously. Oh, he does a lot of refinance business and a good chunk of new builds as well. Okay. So that's not a good feeling for lower to lose that many people. Okay. Let's go back down and we're going to pull Everett Financial. So Everett Financial is Supreme Lending. Where'd you go? Oh, those are loan originators. And so in the last week, yeah, not a good week for Supreme Lending. So net loss of 27 loan originators, $88 million annualized production. They only gained 5 people. Oh, one was a huge producer, actually. So Rachel, well, this one we'll dive into just because that's obviously a big gain of note, but still didn't stop them from having a bad week. Great pickup though, right? So Rachel, so if we scroll down, oh wow, she's a builder. So see, that's the thing. When you dive into the data and you look at it, if a lot of this business was new builds, well, did she work for a builder or does she have a builder account, right? Like, is that business going to follow her? So she came from Brightland Mortgage Services. I don't know who that is. I don't know if is the builder account her builder account or their builder account. It's on the fence. So that's interesting, but in general, it's still not a good week for Supreme because they lost a lot of people because they gained a $100 million producer, but they still lost a huge group of people going to American Financial Network, AFN. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 million-ish plus producers and a bunch of people going to American Financial Network, right? So a group of them, right? Group or area. Interesting. Okay. Next up is Synergy One. So let's see. They lost a lot of LOs, but that doesn't mean that they lost a lot of production. Let's see. It could easily swing. Well, no. So I was going to say could swing either way because we've seen that before in this series. So net loss of 17 originators and $151 million of annualized production. Okay, so they gained nobody, and they lost some big producers going to Cornerstone First Mortgage. So that probably, you know what? I'm going to open it because that's probably going to make Cornerstone one of the biggest. Oh, there's more. So there's a whole group left leaving Synergy One going to Cornerstone First. They're going to probably be one of the other big gainers for the week. But 1, 2, 3, 4 $10 million plus producers leaving. Let's finish up these guys before we add the bonus, right? If I can, I'm going to save it for the end. We'll try and keep Cornerstone first as a bonus, right? And loan officers, wait, those were the loss. Oh, that's right, because they didn't have any gains. They only lost people. Okay, so not a good week for Synergy One, unfortunately. And then, so Union Capital, they're so small, we're not even gonna look at them. So, or Nation Star, that's the servicer. So we're gonna look at Fairway. So Fairway losing 14 originators, but we need to see what that translates to in terms of production. Is it a good or bad thing? It's a bad thing. So net loss of 14 originators, $133 million of annualized production, bringing in 2 $10 million plus producers, one coming from Synergy One, another from Union Home Mortgage, and then losing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 $10 million plus producers. And a lot of this, so one with the biggest one going to VIP Mortgage and some other people a lot of them going to Cornerstone First. Okay. So that is the biggest losers on the IMB side. This is where I'd love your thoughts in the comments. Seriously, it's so hard to look at this data and like, do we want to start with like actually just looking at the bottom? Like when you look at IMBs, obviously there's a lot more bigger IMBs than there are bigger brokers, right? There's been a huge shift, especially last year. I feel like last year so many people left the brokers, the IMB side and went to brokers. I think there's a huge value gap. Like a lot of those people not getting a lot for what they're paying in turn. And so comp, right? They're chasing comp, maybe even rightfully so sometimes because they don't have good leadership or they don't have a lot of support there. But here, like this big one, right? So 24/7 Mortgage, let's pull them up because they're a $500 million company, which is it's not small, but it's not massive. And they do so much refi and equity business. Oh my gosh. Well, so they come out there, but they only lost 10 people and it's honestly minuscule. So that's not even a loss for them. I just don't know if they're like, are they a traditional? I don't think they are 24/7. I think this is a call center type setup. Maybe I'm wrong. Leave a note in the comments if you know the answer to that, right? Help the channel out. Oops, I just clicked on Cornerstone First. Just wait till the end, okay? Don't go back to that frame. So Premier Mortgage. Premier losing Was it 11 originators? So one of the biggest losers in terms of that. And, oh, okay. So they didn't gain anybody and they lost 6 big people, obviously, or at least one big one. Net loss of 6 originators, $136 million of annualized production. Yeah, losing a huge producer who went to inactive. See, so this is interesting. We're going to click on it. So 2 $10 million plus producers. So Linda, her license is inactive. So we don't know where she's going right now, right? So I guess we'll see maybe later. Oh, she's only ever worked for them. Or at least here in this. It's possible, like you could always click on the NMLS access and see where she's potentially worked in the past. That's all that reports here. So, okay. Well, and let's move on because that's a pretty big loss, but somebody's gained, but we don't know who. I plus mortgage. Okay. This is again a smaller company. I'm humoring it at this point because I'm not a huge fan. I don't think this is the best way to kind of compare the data. Like there has to be a threshold here. Like for example, this company is almost $1 billion. Well, they're approaching $1 billion. They're not close. How do you want to split hairs, right? Like they're big, but they're not $1 billion. So this was I plus. It's kind of a flat week, $10 million, right? It's not a good week for them. They're almost half refinance, right? And this is Empire. That's funny. Empire Financial Group. I don't know anyone there, so I don't know them, but still flat week, right? So they gained 3. Is it really only 3? Was that what we saw? Oh my gosh. So you can tell from this report that in general, right? Because even in the past weeks, you can see it. There's a lot more movement, right? Like if, how many companies? If you look at companies that lost at least 3, let's just say that's the barometer for now, at least 3. 45 people moving. Like if you lost at least 3 LOs, right? So total 45. And then on the IMB side, in the past week, there were 322 people moving. It's not even close. And a lot of the times they go to another IMB, right? We've kind of seen that in the data on a week-to-week basis. It's a mixed bag, right? Like sometimes you've got really big wins for brokers and sometimes really big wins for the IMBs. Generally, though, I think there is a theme of right now it feels like a lot more people are going from IMB to IMB and large groups as well. So that's something I've noticed, a little bit of a trend in the last couple of weeks. So that's it for this video. If you made it this far, please like, subscribe, share this with somebody else who you believe would get value just by understanding and having a pulse on the changes happening on a weekly basis within the mortgage industry on a company level, gainers and losers. I'm Thomas Meister, the loan officer's agent. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.